Welcome to Thrive Podcast. In today's podcast, you will listen to wisdom that will cause a positive permanent shift in the trajectory of your life. Open your mind, receive wisdom, apply it, and begin to thrive in all that you do.
Declare with me, I receive wisdom. I apply it to my life. My life blossoms and I thrive.
Hello, welcome to the Thrive podcast. Today we'll still be looking at the wisdom of God, the wisdom of God. And meditating on this, there was a scenario or something that happened to me a while back that I would love to share. I think it was in about 2014 thereabout. I got an employment offer at one of the big banks in Africa, and one of the prerequisites to become a full staff of the bank was to go through a training school. And I remember at the beginning of that training, I felt led in my spirit to actually start a fellowship. I didn't know why, because I am normally not that type of person that would want to start something like that. I am religious, I'm spiritual and all that, but I would maybe want to support, something like that being established, but I would not want to share it. So, long story short, I felt led to actually lead a fellowship for my class, for my cohort. And the training started on a very good note. We continued. I studied. Sometimes I stayed back to study overnight, and I studied. Wrote exams. There was a high bar as to what point you had to score. I think it was about 65 thereabouts. In every course, you have to score at least 65 to be able to continue the program. If you fail at 65, you would have to retake that particular course again. And I remember there was this particular course that I sat for the first time and I scored 55. And what that meant was that I had to rewrite the exam. And I remember a couple of other people also wrote that course the first time and didn't make the pass mark, and they had to write the exam again. And some people that had not written the exam the first time, maybe they were not available or for one reason or the other could not write the exam, had to join us when we were supposed to write it the second time. And I remember vividly people making offers to actually help out with the exams. Or if you don't know it, we can help you, we can give you answers. People were doing all those things, and I was the fellowship lead. And apart from that, I had never done that in an exam before. Even during my undergraduate days, during my postgraduate days, I was not one of those people that would solicit help during an exam or give help during an exam. I could do anything outside the exam, help you to study, understand the material, all that. But this particular exam, it looked like the wise thing to do was to look for someone to teach me so that I could pass the exam, of course, and make it into being a full staff of the bank. But I refused. Somehow, I just said, okay, I will do this exam on my own. If I pass it, fine. If I don't, so be it. And the funny thing was that the second attempt, I did not get the 65 pass mark. I was very close to it, but I didn't get that mark. And the facilitator and the coach of that program called me and said, oh, well, sorry, you have to be let go from this program. And it felt very painful. Honestly, it was one of the most painful experiences I've had as an adult, because I felt, apart from failing this exam, it also meant that I would let a lot of people down. And this is something that I don't think I've ever shared on any public platform before. And failing from that training meant that I had to go back to the labor market. I had to start looking for another job. But I felt, I prayed, I studied, I prepared for that exam. I scored high on every other exam. Most of my other results were above 80. And so if it was this one, I would not bend. If he's just like the three Igbo boys, if he would save us, let God save us. And if God will not save us, he is still God. And so I remember that was around mid-year, and life went on. Oh, sad. Some people felt disappointed. Why didn't you study? I knew I studied. Why didn't you do this? So many things. And then somewhere along the line, I got another job, and I was on that other job, which was not as high paying and all that as the first one. And I was on that job for 3 years. Where am I driving to? In hindsight, when I look at that year, what transpired, I realized that it was not part of the plan of God for me to actually work in that bank. And this is why I'm saying it, because I got another job where I worked for 3 years. And on the basis of that job that I did for 3 years, I applied to Canada as an experienced class applicant. And it was in that year that I applied to go to Canada that the occupation that I worked in for 3 years became an occupation in demand in Canada. And it was because that occupation was in demand in Canada, in which I worked for 3 years. I had the right number of years of experience, and I qualified to get an experienced class invitation to go to Canada. So I went to Canada as an experienced class in demand professional. If I had stayed at the bank, I would probably not have done the things that I did in the role that I worked in for 3 years. And I would probably not maybe have even thought of going to Canada, and I would probably not be here. The wisdom of God is a shield. It preserves. It looks like the foolishness to everybody, almost everybody I spoke to about my experience in training school, about what happened, thought I was foolish to have allowed such a big opportunity slip out of my hand because I did not want to be helped in an exam, because I did not want to cheat in an exam. And it felt like foolishness. But the wisdom of God is superior, because the wisdom of God comes from the experience of God, comes from the knowledge of God, which comes from the character of God. And God is omnipotent. God is omniscient. God knows everything from the beginning to the end. He knows everything from the beginning. So he knew that if I worked in that job, I would probably miss the opportunity to go to Canada, and I would miss the opportunity to do some of the things that he helped me to do in Canada, and I will miss the opportunity to be here today telling this story. Bottom line, the wisdom of God can be trusted. The wisdom of God will shield you. It will shield you from the wrong things, and it will position you for the right things. The wisdom of God will shield you from the wrong things, and it will position you for the right things. Let me say that again. The wisdom of God will shield you from the wrong things and position you for the right things. I don't know what you're going through today. I don't know what persecution or what you're going through, or what scenario is playing out in your life. But there is this that I know, that the wisdom of God is a shield. Thank you.
Thank you for listening. I trust that you have been blessed. This podcast is brought to you by the trusted partners of the Tribe Podcast. Visit us at thethrivepodcast.blogspot.com.